what I got here tonight is springs. It's a question that a lot of people are asking me is like, what spring does what, and what does a spring actually do in terms of performance, and why do we have springs? And I thought I'd make a video somewhat about springs and that sort of stuff. So, starters, let's get into it. This is, over here, 3 springs. Can you see that? There are 3 completely different springs, and they are all out of JM Gen 8 gearboxes. You can see them. They're all different lengths. See, this is like significantly longer than this one. Like, look at that. Look at that difference. And they're all out of like stock standard JM Gen 8 gearboxes. So, obviously this one's going to be more powerful than this one. But, I mean, how do you know what you're getting? You just buy a Gen 8 gearbox and comes with random spring. There you go. I mean, obviously the quality control isn't super duper great here. We've got like 4 completely different spring lengths there. I've got a, zoom out, oh, zoom in, zoom out. I've got a caliper here. I'm going to measure the springs. This one's 1.14. This one's 1.10. This one's 1.10. And this one's 1.10. Why is that one really big and thick? Yeah, 1.14. Maybe I measured it wrong. There we go, 1.10. I must have measured it wrong the first time. So the stock springs are all 1.1 millimeters. And that's great. And when you buy these springs, like the aftermarket ones, they all come in thicknesses. So you buy like an aftermarket spring, you buy a, can we see that? Buy a 1.5 or a 1.3. That's a 1.3. Thereabouts. You know, you buy a 1.3, you buy a 1.5, you buy a 1. I think this is 1.4. Yeah, 1.4. So they're all measured in thicknesses of spring. And I mean, that's great, except it doesn't tell me anything about the spring other than its thickness, which annoys me because here is 2 springs, clearly different. You can see one's got more coils than the other. This one is 1.4. This one is also 1.4. It's 1.38. What's going on here? Okay. Close enough to 1.4. Let's call it 1.4. They're both 1.4. But, I mean, I can tell that this one is a lot softer than this one. Well, maybe not a lot, but it's definitely softer than this one. But they're both 1.4s. They're both the same length. And I mean, this one's clearly different. They're different and they feel different. I can feel that they're... So how do I determine whether 1.4 spring is the same as another 1.4 spring, which is the same as a different company's 1.4 spring? Because they're all different. So what I got here, 2 liters of water, and I've got this very highly scientific apparatus over here. It's a board with a hole in it. Alright, so I get the 2 litre bottle, which I've actually weighed at 2 kilos, which shouldn't be surprising for 2 litres of water, but like the plastic bottle obviously weighs a little bit, so I took out enough water, so it weighs exactly 2 kilos. Whether 2 kilos is representative of anything, I don't know, or care for that matter, but it gives me some sort of baseline. So what I can do here, what I do is I put this spring on here, put a pin through here, and then I hang 2 kilos of water off of it. And then I measure. So this one is 52 millimeters when compressed. And this one is 58 millimeters when compressed. So that's great. What does it mean? Good question. It means that this spring, even though it's the same physical thickness as that, is actually stiffer. But what it does give me is a baseline of something to measure springs off of, that's not just the thickness of the wire. So I've got a whole bunch of springs here which I have weighed, put them on my little apparatus and measured the displacement. Now I know you're probably thinking, whoa, wait a minute, what about this spring? It's like really long and this spring is significantly shorter. Well, that's this spring brings a whole different confusion to it as well, because it's got unequal spring distances. So when this actually gets put into the gearbox, these ones that are close together actually squash down and bind on top of each other, which ends up bringing it down to around about the same size as this spring anyway. The other thing is that when these are compressed into the gearbox distance between the piston when it's fully pushed forward and the back of the gearbox is always the same. So even though this spring is longer than this spring, when they're compressed into the gearbox, they start off at the same distance, although this one's obviously a little bit more compressed than this one is to begin with. Basically what I'm saying is when they're in the gearbox, they start off at the same length anyway. So even though this one's longer, once it's in the gearbox, it will be the same length as this one, although it's already under more compression. So even if these springs were physically the same characteristics, this one's going to give you a stiffer rating or a more powerful piston punch than the shorter one, because it's already under some compression to begin with, whereas this one may not be under much compression to begin with, and then when the piston goes back. So even though these springs might be the same dimensions physically, because this one is longer, it's going to give you a more powerful punch on the piston. Does that make sense? I hope this is making sense, because I'm rambling a lot. Anyway, what I've done here is I've measured all of these and measured the amount of displacement, and I've written it on a piece of paper here and stuck it to them. And basically, I guess the only thing that's really going to make any sense is if I jam these springs into a gearbox and measure some FPS. I think the best way to settle this is to get a blaster and then just keep springing it until the gearbox fails. So what I've got here is a UNP. All right, I'll spring it up. All right, we'll start with, first of all, I guess I'll compare this to the ones that are also out of stock. So this looks like an equivalent to one of the shortest ones. All right, so what I'll do is I'll take a chrono reading of this standard spring and then step it up until something breaks. Okay, so standard spring measured at 8.9 on the Loguido deflection scale. Alright, so with a few shots there, we're reading around the 200 mark. Alright, let's up it. And this is the middle-sized standard J8 spring. So that one's reading just slightly above 200, up to 210 I think I got there. Okay, this is the biggest of the J8 springs, measured at 10 millimeters on the Loguido's deflection scale. So we're up to 220s. Easily repeatable 220s, and that's that's one of the standard springs that comes with the J8 gearbox, the Jingming Gen 8 gearbox, which is what I mean by the J8. That's pretty impressive. Interesting. Okay, so this one's a mild upgrade spring. It's what's commonly known as a 1.2 millimeter spring. It measured at 10 on Loguido's deflection scale, so let's see how it goes. Alright, very repeatable, consistent, high 220s. Yeah, good. Alright, this is a 1.3 millimeter upgrade. That's what they're referred to. It measures a 11.6 on the Loguido's deflection scale. 280s to 290 on that one. Alright, this one's a bit of a wild card. This is a 1.5mm spring, unequal. I've actually had to cut it down because it was a really long spring. I think it was designed for airsoft AEG. And so I've cut it down. It measures a 12.5 on the deflection scale. Now this is going to be interesting. Alright, hear that? That is the gearbox not winding the spring back. I'm using a standard 2-cell or commonly known as 7.4 volt battery, so looks like it doesn't have the juice to pull that spring back. I'm going to have to upgrade to a 3S 11.1 volt battery if I want that spring to be pulled. Alright, here we go. Alright, so I've got a 3S battery in it now. We've got the 1.5mm shortened airsoft spring, or the 12.5 Hello Guido's scale. Here we go, let's do it. Got a 3S battery on it now. Whoo. I might have to hold this barrel straight because it's flicking them around a bit. 323, 314, 'I wonder how long this will go before it breaks the gearbox. $320. I've got one more spring to put in this. I believe it's a 1.4 spring, but it measures a 13.9 on the deflection scale. So it should be, even though it's actually only a 1.4 and this one's a 1.5, it actually measures more on the deflection scale. So it should probably be a little bit stronger than this spring even. Let's see what happens. Alright, so I've got the 1.4 spring in. It's an unequal distance spring, as you can see there. I'm going to try it with the 2S battery just to see how that goes first. It does measure a 13.9 on the deflection scale, so it's quite stiff. I don't know if this battery will be able to draw it back, but we'll see. No. Alright, put the 3S on. Alright, I've got the 3S on now. Let's do it. 314. 315. 264. 295. 260. I think I'm running out of ammo. Let me just get some more ammo. 301 there. Alright, got some more ammo in it now. 324. 303. 311. 317, 308, 314. So around the 315s to 320. There you go, there's a 320. And this is all standard nylon gears. I don't know if you can see that. Standard nylon gearbox in there. Let's just give it a burst. See if we can get this in shot. Here we go. Alright, that is crazy. And that gearbox is still intact. Although I don't know for how much longer. I am out of ammo though. Let me shake it about, get a few more balls. Yeah, she's out. So there you go. You can get sort of upwards of 300 FPS from the standard nylon JM box. I've got no O-ring upgrades on this. I've got nothing but a spring. I'd be interested to see how it goes with an O-ring, to be honest. Maybe that's worth a look, but not for this video. I'm gonna call it there, because if you've made it this far, you're doing very well. This has been probably a super boring video. I'm sorry, but I get so many questions about springs. I had to address it at some stage. I knew it wasn't going to be super exciting, but hopefully you guys have learned something or not fallen asleep. Alright, peace out. Subscribe to my channel. Buy me a coffee. Do all that good stuff, because we're thirsty. Alright, peace out.